I know now that there's nothing worse that I could expect. There's no worse outcome that can happen. And now I'm in my weight division. Like, let's go.
You're back in the octagon March 19th, but in another country. Usually you want to stay in your own country, but it's all good, right?
Yeah,
When they came to you with this offer of going across the pond to fight, were you keen on the idea?
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of my career I've been the underdog and enemy territory, so to speak. So to go to London, I was like, yeah, I was like, let's go. It's not going to make any difference in terms of the outcome. So I'm happy to take a trip on the UFC's dime. No worries.
All right, yeah, that's one of the perks, right, of being a UFC fighter is that you'll get to travel, and it seems like it's gonna be happening more and more as the world opens up and is looking good. The UK, it's a great place to fight. Most fighters tell me that the fans are some of the best in the world. Have you been getting any DMs or comments from the UK fans since you are fighting one of their UK fighters?
Yeah, I haven't necessarily gotten any hate from the UK fans. I've had a few that reached out and are excited to see me, showcase in London. So I know that the welcome probably won't be unanimous. It'll probably be more, on Cory McKenna's side. But no, I haven't had anything but good things from the UK. So again, we'll see. I'm excited. I'm expecting the worst and hoping for the best.
But it's cool though, right? Like you're
Yeah.
getting messages from fans in another country. They're excited to see you come to their country to perform as an athlete. That to me, it's like one of the highlights of being a fighter is having other countries support you, which is
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
So McKenna, she's a UK prospect. Like I said, your thoughts on her and the skill set she possesses.
I mean, I know that she's a good fighter. She definitely has a very, very well-rounded game. Um, she comes from a wrestling background with Uriah Faber and her camp there, so I am expecting some solid wrestling. Um, I have the striking, so we'll see which one wins for this way. But yeah, nothing against her. She seems to have a really well-rounded game. Um, I'm thinking that she'll probably want to wrestle, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And she is considered a grappler, but she has been working on her striking for a while. She's been out of competition for more than a year, so we might see something different. She might come in there and say, "Hey, I want to test my hands out against a striker. So let's see what happens." And because you could get hyped up with the crowd and
Yeah.
everything
Oh,
going.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would love to. I'm down to throw with with whoever, especially if they want to stand and bang. I mean, I think that's what makes an exciting fight, and I think that's why I love martial arts and want to see things. So she decides that she wants to strike. We'll have all the fans happy for sure. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. McKenna, she debuted of around 15 months ago against Kay Hansen. What did you think of that performance, and do you think she won that fight? Because it seems like a lot of people thought she lost.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. So I didn't necessarily know who she was when we got the matchup. Obviously, I looked into her before we accepted it, but I had watched that fight live, and you know, US UK. I really liked Kay Hansen, and my bet is I probably thought that Kay Hansen took that away when I watched it initially. Watching it the second time, obviously with that in mind that Kay lost it and Cory took it away. I could see it a little bit, but it definitely is a fight where there's some contention there a little bit. I don't think it was a pulled away type fight at all, and I think I'd want to see the cards in terms of what it was. But watching it either way, even knowing the outcome, I definitely thought it was a bit closer than probably what was shown or demonstrated in terms of that decision. But
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of people agree with you. I've seen
yeah.
both sides of the coin with this one online, and yeah, when you look at that fight, was it exciting to you that fight? The way it played out.
I'm trying to bring myself back to initially because obviously watching it the second time with the mentality that I'm going to fight Cory is a little different. But I think what that fight was exciting was because they were matching each other's skill set, right? Like it was okay. Cory wanted to strike, Kay would strike, and then Kay tried to do a takedown, and then Cory would kind of do the same thing. So I think it was a very, very close fight, and it was like tit for tat almost, which made it exciting. I like to strike, so I would have preferred to just to keep the person pinned against the cage and throw strikes. But in terms of the back and forth, there definitely was plenty of that, and that's what made it a good fight to watch for sure.
Tit for tat on the feet is
Yeah.
what the fans want most likely
Oh
in
yeah.
every fight.
Well, I can make that happen.
Yeah, of course, of course. Your debut, we spoke before your UFC debut versus Sijara Eubanks. The cards were stacked against you. Everybody knew that.
Yeah.
You still took the fight, and that says a lot about you as an individual. Coming out of that fight, where was your mindset at?
Yeah, so the crazy part is I lost before in my amateur career, and I was completely devastated, right? Like I'm a kid. I just gave 100%. It was a title fight. I did a weight cut. I was at 105. I remember crying to my mom, like saying, like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. The loss to Sijara Eubanks, I could have fought somebody the next day. Like I was so ready to go in again. I didn't look like I could have fought the next day, but I definitely could have mentally fought the next day. And I wasn't. Obviously, I want to always have a good performance, so it wasn't the best performance. I think I ended up becoming a meme, which is fine. That's the way this business goes. But nobody in the cage is gonna put me in a worse position. Like you have to be 20 pounds heavier than me stepping in the cage, built like a refrigerator, and then pin me mount, and I still hit back from the bottom mounted against somebody that was 20 pounds. Like I know now that there's nothing worse that I could expect. There's no worse outcome that can happen. And now I'm in my weight division. Like, let's go. I think it was a realization that when I first lost, it was kind of like me trying to find myself. And even though this wasn't the best showcase, I know that there's nothing anybody in the UFC at 115 can do me that's worse than that. So it's very interesting to have that perspective. Like you said, nobody normally takes that, and I decided to take it on my first UFC fight. So looking back, probably a few years from now, it'll seem like a crazy decision, but I wasn't sad. I wasn't really upset at my career moving forward because I know it's going to be a lot better than that first fight. So yeah, it was interesting.
It was a crazy decision, but it seemed like it
Yeah.
was one of the most beneficial decisions you've made, moving forward with your career. Like you said, you gained confidence from that fight, you know what I mean? And I think that's so important, right? Even if you lost,
Yeah.
there's got to be something positive you have to take away from it. If you don't take anything positive away from it, then you might not be mentally, stable enough to move forward with your career, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at least from my perspective, right? I'm not going to speak for all fighters, but going into a cage, probability, like likely what's going to happen, but anything can happen. And there's always a risk of being put in a situation where you mentally can't handle it, or you can't think straight, or you panic. And again, I hit somebody from the bottom with the side of my hammer fist and mounted. I was completely coherent the entire time. I wasn't panicked. Like I in the worst position could think very, very clear. So that's another thing that I pulled across from it. Like I wasn't panicking at all. And so I think that's the biggest concern that a fighter has is you step in there and now you can't do what you're trained to do, that you've been waiting, 16 weeks or 8 weeks to do. And I was still listening to my corner. I was still acting, move on the bottom. So yeah, so I'm ready to get this one going for sure.
Yeah, we've seen people panic inside that cage many times, in the past. So yeah, that is something big to come away from. Now, your first training camp at strawweight for a UFC fight, It must feel
Yeah.
good for you, you gaining that confidence from the last fight, and you've had all this time off to develop,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
what are have there been changes you've made or any kind of switch ups in the last 4 months or so?
So, I've outsourced my strength and conditioning. Like you said, have always kind of been very active professionally to turn over fights. So I've finally been able to put on a structure that's better for a 115 fighter. I was always normally very light, being a former 105, and I was able to finally spar just to spar, right? So I mean, you go through a camp and you have a game plan and you're constantly working on that game plan. And for the first few months, I just helped everybody else out. I could just spar and get used to having the MMA combined with my Taekwondo background, and it was a lot of fun. I don't necessarily want 6 months off again. So I hope the UFC keeps me active from here on out. But it definitely was an opportunity for me to get all my ducks in a row to make sure that when I do come back, that it's going to be able to where we can pretty much run from here. So I'm actually bigger right now than I was fighting Sajara, which is crazy. So no, I'm ready to go. I'm definitely ready to rock.
Everyone, they want to finish for their first UFC victory, but where do you think the finish will come?
I think the second round. I think it's second round. I don't know exactly what. I've been working on some things, so I'm happy to bring that finish wherever. But I'll let the audience guess, because I want a highlight, of course, not just a finish. I want a highlight, so we'll see.
With that Taekwondo background, I always want to see fighters that have a Taekwondo background use that to finish a
Yeah,
fight in the UFC.
yeah,
I just think it's just insane, like the abilities you can get from learning Taekwondo from such a young age.
yeah. No, and like I said before, so I've always been the shorter person, and Taekwondo is very very heavy kicks. But even being the shorter person, I've never been able to use them, even in like Taekwondo sparring. And so with MMA, I was a little more hand heavy because of that situation where I always knew I needed to press. And so with that sparring that I was able to do, kind of on the off camps, I used a lot more kicks. So people thought I was a good kicker before in MMA fights. It's gonna be a whole different ball game, which is really exciting, because that's the one thing that personally for me I know I'm really good at, and I haven't been able to showcase it. And so I'm definitely looking for opportunities to make that happen. So
All
I'm in
right.
the same boat with you.
All right, here we go. Here we go. A couple more questions before I let you go.
Yeah, no worries.
MMA fans, dealing with them can be difficult at times, a pleasant surprise at other times. What do you think MMA fans obsess about too much that fighters don't really care about?
So I'd say probably the drama. I'd say probably the drama. Like we'll take Kobe and Masvidal. I don't think, like, we're in a position where it's all a profession, right? This is now the way that you can make money enough to be able to take care of your family and your business and whatever else. And so I think anybody that is emotionally charged going into anything, can't think straight, is probably not doing their job the right way. So I'd say the drama. I'd say there's probably not as much drama as the fans think there are, and I think fighters do their due diligence. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. It's a way for them to make themselves, bigger. But I think the drama is probably overstated a little bit. And then maybe there was a drama, a little bit, but I think, at the end of the day, two people are stepping into a cage and they're gonna beat each other up, and that's like the best way to handle any drama. So I don't know why there needs to be more than that. But yeah, so that's what I'd say. That's what I'd say. I think it's probably the drama. There's drama. It's maybe a tenth of what is actually being stated. So
Yeah, emotion. They always talk about it in interviews, right? Like when they analyze fights, especially the one that you're just talking
yeah,
about, Masvidal and Covington, are like, are emotions gonna play a part in this fight? And they could, but these guys, they're professionals, like you said, and they seem to know what they're doing out there with the talk and the promotion of the fight. And I
and
just think it
and
doesn't.
And to that defense, right? Maybe it is a whole thing. Like Nate Diaz is, I mean, he talks some shit a little bit, but he will talk in the cage, and it is exactly what he should be doing. Like that is how you get into somebody's head. So some of it is completely, yes, there definitely is emotional and mental game to it, but I don't think nobody, at least personally, I'm not looking at somebody to be like, well, I really hate them, so I'm going to go to the cage and I'm going to be like, it's just no, that's not what happens. There's enough work into it that you don't need to start emotionally investing yourself into a fight. So it's my 2 cents.
All right. PTSD in combat sports, not CTE, but PTSD, from like an injury or maybe a weight cut or damage taken in a fight or even a tough loss. Sometimes fighters can take losses really tough.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced this in the past and overcame it, or have you seen it around you?
So the loss I had as an amateur, I had put, and every fighter does this, right? So we're talking about 90% of the people that get into the sport, but you put your heart and soul into it. You have so many people supporting you. It was the first title fight that I had ever, and I lost it. The girl said my arm was broken, and it wasn't. So neither here nor there. But I lost that fight, and I was completely devastated. The next title fight that I had, super nervous. And as much as I knew that the person was completely different and the situation was different, in my head, I hadn't been able to pass that, like get that title, and it was definitely a mental block. My coach noted that I was much more nervous getting ready for that fight than any other one, because of that very reason. And as soon as I overcame that, I realized like it's just another fight. It's not. Then they just kept coming. You know what I mean? So yeah, for sure, it's definitely something where I think fighters have a goal in mind. Even the UFC stuff, right? You have a goal in mind, and you put that so high up that sometimes you limit your own self from achieving it. And unfortunately, it happens. But hopefully, people can overcome it. I definitely saw that with my second amateur title, where I was really thinking back of like, okay, I've done this before. I put this much effort in before, and I still didn't get it. And luckily it wasn't the same outcome. So it happens for sure.
Yeah, and I think it builds a foundation for obstacles in the future, right? If they do come, that you could overcome it because you've done it in the past, makes it easier. Last question, crypto. Kevin Lee, he got signed by Eagle FC after being released by the UFC. They're gonna pay him his fight purse in crypto. What is your take on crypto, and would you ever consider or dance with the idea of getting paid your fight purse in cryptocurrency?
I have invested in crypto as well. I think I think there's definitely pros and cons to all of it. I think we talk about something even newer than that. Those NFTs are coming back. I think right now, I think crypto is probably the one that's a little bit more responsible as an investment. I think NFTs, it's showing that there's ways to hack and kind of take advantage of that. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's so much with money and different governments and different regulations. And if crypto becomes where it is very safe and can't be regulated by other entities, then absolutely. I mean, I think it's a secure thing. I think right now what you're seeing is that Bitcoin can be 60 grand one day and then 35 the next, and so if you get paid 60 grand in crypto and it becomes half that in a day, I think that's probably where you'd want to go cash a little bit more. But like I think one NFL player got paid in crypto like something like 70 grand, and with he had taxes, so that was taken out, and so he was left with 15 because of the dip. So I'd like to see a little bit more stable of a of a scheme there, but I think the world evolves as necessary for that type of stuff. So sorry, my cat is blind and she missed the litter box. Just now.
Well, I
Oh
hope your
God.
cat's all right.
Yeah, no, she's just fine. It's just my carpet.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, but no, I think eventually, um, if it becomes this very stable and is showing to be what it looks like, that it's going to be able to be regulated by the people, I think that's definitely a thing. I mean, the metaverse is going to be a whole different thing. So I think it's definitely going to blow up sometime soon. I wouldn't take my purse right now in crypto, but maybe we'll see in the future. We'll see.
All right. March 19th, UFC London. You're back. You're at your original weight class, which is always great. At least thank you so much for the time. Good luck on the rest of the camp and all the best in the fight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.